The issue is that this investigation has been dragging on for more than 2 years now, and even though yesterday it became clear that of the two journalists behind the 2017 series, The Afghan Files, Dan Oakes and Sam Clark, even though it was clear Sam Clark was not going to be prosecuted or at least considered for further prosecution, Dan Oakes still has this issue hanging over him. And while the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions hasn't necessarily decided to agree with the AFP's position here and put forward a request to charge Mr Oakes, the ABC is concerned that this is just another step in what has already been a long and arduous campaign. This, of course, relates back to the 2017 series of stories that the pair published, which raised allegations of serious misconduct against Australian forces, Australian Special Forces in Afghanistan. It led to the search warrants being executed on the ABC's Sydney headquarters and has been underway for quite a number of months, already 2 years or so. Gavin Morris, the ABC's Director of News, says there is still very little clarity as to what charges Dan Oakes may face, if indeed this does get to a prosecution, but he is just urging the prosecutors here to try to resolve this matter as quickly as possible.
What I think we're looking for is some clarity around what happens next, and to ensure that that happens as quickly as possible. We'd like to see this whole affair dropped. The journalism that Dan did and Sam did here was good journalism. None of the facts of the story have been disputed, and all these guys were doing was doing their jobs professionally as journalists, and it's time they were able to get on with that without this cloud over their heads.
So, Matthew, is there any indication as to whether the federal government will actually follow through on this prosecution?
Well, during this whole investigation and the investigation on News Corp political journalist Annika Smethurst for a separate story that she published, also based on leaked classified information, an investigation which is now over and no charges will be laid there, there has been this discussion about press freedom in Australia, and Christian Porter, the Attorney-General, did indeed put in place a direction to Commonwealth lawyers that if they do want to prosecute any journalists, they have to get the green light from him first. That was viewed by some as an attempt to put a roadblock in this process, to in some way make sure that journalists weren't ending up in the dock for simply doing their job, because the appetite within government ranks to see that happen doesn't appear to be very strong. However, there are concerns that this puts the fate of a journalist in the hands of an elected politician, regardless of their political persuasion. Many critics of the current situation, the current national security framework, say that this is a situation which shouldn't be happening, that journalists shouldn't be pursued in the first place. And while it doesn't appear likely at this stage that Christian Porter would want to sign off on any sort of prosecution, the concern is that that threat, that possibility is still lingering.